Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online, and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the new home of power mining analysis. Midday Wednesday, about halfway through the trading week, and what an incredible week we're having. Bitcoin is testing new all-time highs. We've got the US federal election just days away, and the Bitcoin mining stocks have rebounded in a massive way during this morning's session. All of that and more in today's presentation alongside Anthony Power. Before we get into it though, please take a second, smash the like button, you guys. It's a big help to ourselves and the channel. Anthony loves it. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below how you're feeling about the Bitcoin mining sector overall right now, your outlook in terms of US federal election results next week, and your price target for Bitcoin in these final few days leading up to this critical political event. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay, guys, Wednesday afternoon, a little bit later podcast today, but that's okay. It's given the mining stocks some time to recover. Anthony, a very big week shaping up in the Bitcoin space right now. We've got the US election literally just days away. Not to mention, Bitcoin is now flirting with all-time highs. I had posted on X yesterday that we had hit a new all-time high. It sounds like we were just a few $100s short, but nonetheless, Bitcoin is testing new territory here, and it's boding very well for all the Bitcoin mining proxies that we talk about on the channel so regularly. So, Anthony, to kick things off here today, how are you feeling in terms of Bitcoin price leading into this monumental US election next week?
Yeah, it's looking fairly positive, actually. Yeah, we've had nice few weeks of upside. ETFs are continually buying. And like you said yesterday, a couple of $100 shorts on the US all-time high. Bitcoin may have hit all-time highs in other countries, if you think about it, depending on the currency. So if the currency is not as strong as the US dollar, they may have already reached an all-time high. But yeah, I think it was flirting very, very close to it. And it looks like it's imminently going to go through that this week or certainly next week and test further highs from there. But we're starting to see the bull cycle now, and we've got probably another 12 to 15 months left of this.
You're exactly right. And that's what happened here in Canada. Bitcoin broke through 102,000, which is the highest it's been in this country in terms of our own currency. Again, very interesting to think it's not Bitcoin changing value. It's the currency losing value in comparison. Now, we talked yesterday about a lot of these media outlets, Anthony, really changing their tune in relation to Bitcoin. So there's been a number of big press releases that came out. The first one here talks about a new all-time high being programmed into Bitcoin. You used the language in yesterday's podcast. It's not if, it's going to be when at this point. Do you feel like a new all-time high is programmed in at this point? Do you think there's any way we wouldn't reach this before the election next week?
It is just a matter of when, and the sheer volumes the ETFs have been buying. Forget anybody else buying Bitcoin, and we're starting to see retail investors come back into the space now. We can see the pickup in posts about Bitcoin, certainly in terms of our social media and increase there. So it is imminently about, and we spent a bit of time yesterday going through what the ETFs have been buying in the last few weeks. It's just, not just the daily production rates, but you're talking 10 to 15 times the daily production of Bitcoin. So they're having to go out and buy it. And like we said before, we're not selling it. So, who's actually selling the Bitcoin? I want to know their names.
Well, and it's an interesting point you bring up. We talk about HODL 15, the inflow chart, a lot on this channel. This is another very interesting visual. So this one doesn't necessarily talk about dollar value. It shows the number of Bitcoin that were bought. So this is for the 29th of October. So yesterday, I'll bring up the visual. You can walk us through this, Anthony, but to your point, 11,820 Bitcoin worth of equivalent was purchased yesterday and therefore needed to be bought by these ETFs. What does that do to supply and demand?
The supply is 450 a day. That's a new supply. And we know half the miners aren't selling their Bitcoin. So really, you've only got 200 to 225 Bitcoin available each day. 11,820 is probably 25 times the daily production. So it's a significant amount. You just can't keep going out there. Yes, some people will be taking profits. It's reached 70,000. They may have bought in at the start of 2023 when it's 15,000, take some profits now. And you could understand people doing that. But this is going further north here now. And, that it's just imminent. There's just not enough supply out there to withhold this incredible buying power that the ETFs have got. And 70% of Bitcoin hasn't moved wallets in the last 12 months. Again, that's another statistic. So, yes, there is Bitcoin moving around, but it's getting less and less. And, there's not as much, the GBTC, the grayscale Bitcoin. I think most of that's been sold now. So, really, that was one thing that was, able to help. If, one fund was selling the Bitcoin, the ETFs were buying up that Bitcoin. Now we can't buy that anymore. They've got to go and find it from elsewhere. It's like anything. It's like, remember when those bottle of juices came out? Was it the Prime things when he came out and everybody wanted one? You couldn't buy them for dust, and there were people selling for like 5, 6 times the prices. That's supply and demand for you. When the demand outweighs the supply, elasticity of price will increase there. So it's going up, and it's just a case of when, and I expect the all-time highs be hit this week or certainly next week as we got the election happening.
Most definitely. Yeah, price elasticity takes me back to university economics there, Anthony. And I saw an interesting, funny meme yesterday saying referring to Larry Fink and his buddies have loaded their boats now and they've let Bitcoin leave the station. An interesting point on the HODL 15 post, kind of a cheeky third bullet, I thought, saying 11,122 of these Bitcoin must have been purchased from willing buyers, and then a shrugging emoji. I'm thinking that same way, Anthony. I just at this point don't understand who's going to be selling their Bitcoin, but you are right. We did hit very close to a psychological barrier in the US. We definitely hit one in Canada. People may be looking to unload their Bitcoin. Basically, everyone at this point would be in profit on their purchases so far. So this is obviously having a big impact on our Miner Madness trading competition. Not going to dwell on this one too much, but I was able to crack the top 10, Anthony. Very proud about that. You're in second place, so this bodes extremely well for the Power Mining Analysis brand. And then we've got A-Trades hot on our heels. Obviously a very fun competition. We're starting to get a lot of merchandise and endorsement swag offers for this competition, continuing to build these prize packages and looking really forward to that one as we're now about a third of the way done. So with that being said, Anthony, I'm going to bring up the mid-morning market update. We used the word rebound in our thumbnail today, and that's really exactly what happened in the market. So the miners were deep red to start the day. Now many of them are actually in the green, led by Hut 8 and TeraWulf, which has really been the tail of the tape all week here for these two miners. So I'll let you walk us through exactly what you see here.
Yeah, it's this is again it's the volatility of Bitcoin. The trading day is 24 hours now, effectively. So you've got these stocks are getting traded on different exchanges all around the world. In Germany, in Canada, in the US, in the UK, and probably other exchanges as well. But the volatility means that the price can change 2 or 3 times in a day. And we've seen that. We've seen some of these shares spike really well on Monday, intraday, and then they came back down. And same happened yesterday. And we're seeing a sea of red this morning because the Bitcoin price just, close to its all-time high, dropped back a little bit to 71.5. And the mining stock started red today. However, we've seen, like you say, a good handful of them have gone green, noticeably. Hut 8 and TeraWulf, and we noticed there was an update from Stifel, one of the investment banks, who analysed these stocks, and they gave a price prediction for HUT of 18 and a price prediction for TeraWulf of $7.
Yeah, interesting about that, Anthony. You and I got a good chuckle to ourselves. What is the current price of those two companies on the mid-morning market update?
The current price of HUT is $18 and change, and the current price of TeraWulf is just over $7 and change.
An insightful bunch at that firm, I suppose, hey?
Well, I mean, it's good to be in that category where you're predicting things and predicting prices that you're accurate. So you put out the prediction during the day and it actually hits that prediction. I'm going to give you a prediction this year. Christmas Day is going to fall on December the 25th. Let's see how that one
There,
works out.
there you go. I'll give you another prediction. We won't be going to their Christmas party, Anthony. Besides Hut and Wolf, which are obviously having a great day, and we joke, it's awesome that we're getting these price
Yeah.
increases, and it's great that they've already achieved these targets. We expect the price targets are going to continue to go up, but it is funny to see these firms coming into the space, and as you call them, Anthony, Johnny come latelys. Everybody now is in the Bitcoin frenzy. Everybody wants exposure to the miners and MicroStrategy and all the rest. So it is a little comical. Aside from those two, though, what are we seeing here? Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today.
Yeah, we're seeing, some obviously volume is still high in some of these stocks. And even just after opening market, you've got the likes of Marathon there, already traded, in excess of 22 million shares. You've got Bitfarms, 23 million shares. You've got CleanSpark at 17 million shares, Wolf at 11 million shares, Riot, 10 million shares. It's a lot of trading going on in this space. So that's the volatility. There'll people be going in there making smaller margins, but in and out during the day, and lots of trading opportunities. I personally don't use that type of trading strategy. If I do my analysis and I buy a stock, I tend to keep hold of it, and I have prices in similar to what you do, Rice. I have prices where I'm prepared to sell an element of the stock to pull back a little bit of cash just in case opportunities rise in the future. But it's set yourself some goals and strategies going forward, and this is the time when people should start thinking about that going into this bull cycle. Where do they want to end up? In 2021, we saw so many people joining in a frenzy as the prices were going up, 10, 15, 20, 30% every day. And all of a sudden, it came crashing down, and people weren't prepared for that. And I'm sure there are people out there that are still carrying shares from that 2021 space and some of these companies, and are still waiting to recover from those now. But we are seeing some big improvement the last sort of 20 months. Since the beginning of 2023, we've seen all these shares pretty much, with the exception of maybe a couple of them, have been doing, really well. If you look at, last year, I think the average increase across the board was close to 400 to 500%, and we've seen a number of stocks doing quite well this year. TeraWulf already up for 600% in the last 12 months. Core Scientific 450% up in the last since January, not the last 12 months, since January when they came out of Chapter 11. So. There is potential to if you get it at the right time with these miners, you can make some significant amounts. But you've got to do your due diligence first, find out which of the miners are appear to be have a good play for valuation, who's operating well, who can mine Bitcoin at the cheapest price. So many factors to bear in mind. Who's got a great management team, access to the most efficient fleet. So there are so many factors. Do your due diligence, spend time doing that, and then make the right decisions going forward. But have a plan as to when you're going to, take some of the profits as well.
Yeah, I like that you bring that point up about having a plan at this point before we get into that euphoric state. And just as a side note, you and I are obviously having quite a good year in our personal portfolios. We do post all of our trades, our portfolio holdings, all of our sells in each of our respective Patreons as well. If you're looking for a little bit more in-depth kind of coverage or guidance there. Interesting you bring up as well, Anthony, about the swing trading. You and I don't really partake in that. I heard an old adage in one of the books I read, treat your investing account like a bar of soap. The less you touch it, the more you'll have. So I really try and refrain from day trading like that. I've not found I'm successful in that realm. I like to buy and hold. It's less stressful and I can focus on the fundamental analysis that we like so much. You bring up a great point, though, about this euphoric cycle of Bitcoin. So we had talked before this cycle happened about the Bitcoin price target in the 100, 110, 150. You've brought a chart along that compares Bitcoin to gold now, Anthony, showing after the ETF approvals, really that tremendous run that gold was able to get on. It's interesting to compare this chart with that psychological element because as we get into the bull cycle, even personally, I continue to raise the ceiling on where I think the maximum of this cycle is going to be. We talked with Adam back in Amsterdam. He had thought somewhere in the neighborhood of $450,000 US. The thesis behind that was he feels Bitcoin should be valued at the same overall asset value as gold. He figures once it starts to get close, people are going to rebalance out of gold into Bitcoin, and he thinks 450 US per coin is kind of that equilibrium. So, all that being said, what are your thoughts, Anthony, heading into this? How should people think about planning their exits and where the all-time high is eventually going to be?
Oh, there's so many predictions. I mean, we don't really give predictions on where we expect it to go, but if you listen to a lot of the analysts, there's not many analysts out there saying it's going to go to, to go low rates at the moment. So they're all seriously high positions where Bitcoin is at the moment. So, there's an expectation we'll get to 100,000 by the end of the year. But if you're looking at, in the next few years, undoubtedly Bitcoin could get seriously high, 2, 3, 400%, 450. Adam said that's speak to Kathy Wood. She'll give you a figure that will blow your mind. And I listened to a presenter on CNBC yesterday, and he said by the year 2050 he'd expect it to be $3 million a coin, and that's with a 16% year on year increase in asset value. So um, some good some good people out there, some good analysts out there putting the predictions out there. Everything seems to be following that way at the moment. So we are, as I say, we are starting to enter the bull cycle. We need to get through that all-time high, then push from there. And as these ETFs will continue to buy, there'll be less people maybe willing to sell, seeing it's a long term. I'm keeping my Bitcoin itself as a long term hold. Some of the mining stocks may not be as long term as the Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin myself, I believe that's the future, and that's where I probably want to have my investment stay put and let that go all the way to where it ends up.
Agreed. I'm taking that same approach, and I guarantee you, many of the people watching this program, we're going to be sitting on a rocking chair when we're old one day, looking back, telling our grandkids, I remember when Bitcoin was under 100 grand or when it hit $16,000 US, and they won't even believe us, but that'll be in the past at that point. Next topic, Anthony, the US election. We've got the countdown on. It's 5 days away and maybe 5.5 days at this point. This is a critically important event for so many reasons around the world, in the United States, in North America, and in the Bitcoin community, specifically for these miners, as the US really leads a lot of the policy, regulation, and obviously adoption of Bitcoin cryptocurrency. We know that a lot of the miners we cover are based in Texas or in the United States. What does this election mean, and what do you think this is going to do to Bitcoin here in the next few days?
As I say, I mean, I think maybe some of it's already built into the price already. I mean, we were fortunate to go to Nashville and listen to some of the main contenders who've been there throughout this election and get their view on Bitcoin. And it was very, very positive to hear them talk. that way. Even President Trump's on about now removing any sort of capital gains on people using Bitcoin to purchase items, which I thought was quite novel. Treating it as effective like as a currency. I mean, we don't pay, if I change my pounds into dollars and use my dollars and the value of the dollars increase, I don't pay capital gains on that. But I would pay capital gains on if the Bitcoin price rose and I sold my Bitcoin. So, that's quite an interesting concept he's looking at there. And actually, there's a lot of people out there who have Bitcoin in their wallets and they use certain apps like the Lightning app to spend their Bitcoin as and when because they feel having Bitcoin is better than having the currency. You hold the value. And we've talked about this before about, if you were to have bought, to say, an iPhone, say 5 years ago, how many Bitcoin would it cost to buy an iPhone and how many Bitcoin today costs an iPhone? And, the iPhone price has risen in terms of fiat currency, but in terms of Bitcoin, it's reduced considerably. And so, there is an argument that to have your Bitcoin in your wallet to use as your daily currency, and you'll always stay ahead of the curve that way. So it's going to be an interesting few weeks. As I say, Donald Trump's made no secret the fact that he's fairly positive behind Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and there's 40 to 50 million Americans out there that have some sort of cryptocurrency as part of their assets. So that might appeal to them. But I think it's going to be really close from what I'm seeing. I think it's only down to 4 or 5 states where the decision really gets made. So as I say, as a Brit looking in and as a Canadian looking in, we'll just wait and see on the 5th of November. We celebrate that as Bonfire Night in the UK. So that's going back through history, back to the 16th century when Guy Fawkes tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament. And so we celebrate the 5th of November as people having bonfires and fireworks and things like that. So most of the UK will be doing that day. And in the background, there'll be a news channel talking about the election.
There sure will be. Look at that, you guys. You get Bitcoin knowledge, you get history on the channel. What don't you? Just the kitchen sink you don't get here, I guess. What's interesting for me about this election is this strategic Bitcoin reserve that was kicked around by both RFK Jr. and Trump in Nashville. I think if we start to see the US adopt Bitcoin on a federal level, obviously we'll start to see states adopt it. We've already seen pension plans adopt it. This is going to further lead to that snowball inertia effect we've talked about on the channel, FOMO. Ultimately, Anthony, I see Bitcoin as a global currency that backs all of the fiat currencies in those specific countries, but we've got a long way to go to get there. And next week is going to be a pivotal step in that journey. So a lot to cover, you guys. No shortage of news, as we always say. Smash the like button. Feel free to subscribe. Let us know in the comment section below who you think will be victorious next week in the US federal election. And we'll see you here tomorrow.